would be taken very seriously, like in Hinduism or Buddhism. So the idea that God protects him by resting between the shoulders of Benjamin, who is portrayed as kind of, I think, effete and not very strong. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know that he will protect him from his own fear. Protect the weak from their own fear. That's just what kind of jumps out at me. But which cultures? What are the influences on this? The other cultural traditions that are most likely to have influenced?
Well, it looks like I mean, this is
Egyptian.
Egyptian.
The ancient Near East.
Just the ancient Near East.
But it sounds
the
like
Philistines.
But he's even appropriating from his own culture. He's even, I mean, this is my theory. You know, by this whole blessing sequence, he's appropriating from a story he's heard told, right? Which is the story of the deathbed blessing of Jacob.
Right. But there's not. My understanding is that there's not much overlap between the two. There's some elements that are taken from the first, but that they're very different. And I think that's the idea is that that's connected to the fact that this was a later edition. That this was that Deuteronomy was amended to tack this on at some point.
Right. Yeah, it's a bit of a leap. I just wondered if there was a connection.
Yeah, no, there might. It seems like there must be, like, because it's accomplishing the same. Yeah,
So it's very hierarchical. I mean, there's every group's got its mission, and the Levites and the Kohanim and this tribe and that tribe, and certainly not liberty, equality, and what was the other one? Fraternity. It's so it's more hierarchical.
Yes, well, that's for sure. But well, look, didn't Rambam himself say that the stories are for people who can't fully access the real meaning, and then he wrote the Guide for the Perplexed in Arabic.
Right.
For people who are hip. I mean, I don't know. I mean, so it does raise questions about how to interpret even the most kind of lurid or violent parts of the scripture.
When I interviewed this author here, David Klinghoffer, who wrote this book, How Would God Vote?
Right.
Why the Bible commands you to be a conservative.
Right.
And I asked him about race, and he thought it was possible that God had given different missions to different races.
Right.
So just like the different tribes here kind of have different missions.
Right.
I mean, think about the immortal words of the late Reverend Reggie White. Remember when he said that Indians are good at sneaking up on people?
Yes.
And that white people are good at making money?
And he got in trouble for that.
He got in trouble for that. Like, black people are good at rushing the passer.
Jesus.
You know, he was a great defensive end and a great preacher. And he suffered for telling the truth. The different races were given different missions. Like, Orientals are great at science and tutoring.
Well, I don't know that he suffered for telling the truth.
Man King.
He suffered for telling his truth, that's for sure. But yeah, he was a great defensive end.
So I feel like this is kind of in consonance with the Torah. The different tribes have different missions, and maybe the different races.
Except
for I didn't get the making money gene, even though I'm white. Sorry, Monica. I am good at sneaking up on people.
Well, then you must be.
Yeah, I think it's my native American.
Well, look, then you are good at making money, because there's no difference.
Sorry, Monica.
Except that aren't they represented differently back in Genesis? I don't exactly know if what I'm saying is accurate.
Yeah, there are some differences.
Don't they seem to be
There's
different?
Almost nothing in common. There's almost nothing in common.
That's what I thought.
Well, as far as the races go? Or
no,
the tribes?
The tribes.
Right.
So the mission changes, essentially, right?
But yeah, there's almost nothing in common between the two blessings. And also race plays almost no role in the Hebrew Bible.
Right, yeah, of course not.
Well, no, of course not. It does. I mean, that's fascinating.
Well, but I mean, race is...
But that's a modern construction, race. I mean... Yeah. Right?
I think it's a word for people who live in a big world.
I mean, but I think every group is like being afraid of outsiders that look totally different.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it's the Japanese, versus, Commander Perry comes in with his guns and forces up.
Right.
And I think every group, like if you had a bunch of like swarthy black people, and suddenly some, white blonde people march up,
Right.
I think there'd be a lot of anxiety.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just intrinsic to human nature. I mean, we create in-groups and out-groups, and somebody shows up in your territory, you probably eat them if you can. But I just think the race thing, I mean, for people in traditional environments where you couldn't see the whole world, you just saw neighbors, so race would have been, it's not race, it's tribes, I guess. It's the ones who live there, the ones who live there, the ones who live there. But look, there's, it's not, I actually like David Klinghoffer a good deal as an individual, and also I find him interesting. But yeah, I mean, when he's saying he thinks it's possible, that seems almost a hedge. I mean, I think that the Torah is pretty clear that Ishmael, that whenever there's a division, there's always a different lot for each of the the progeny of each division. So I mean, I think that seems a very natural belief to hold if your Torah true, and I know David tries to be.
And you would agree that Indians are good at sneaking up on people.
I've never seen better. No, well, look, I won't even elaborate. No. If we have any Native American visitors, I don't have enough personal experience.
I hope you have to have a meeting with Jesse Jackson. I just hope.
So I can get shaken down?
Yeah.
No,
we're all gonna, not Monica, but Joey and I are going to have to go to sensitivity training right after this Torah study.
I am very sensitive to that. Look, there's no...
No, just me then.
Well, I want to go
I've never
anyway.
been accused of being sensitive. So. The Minutemen are in the Bible. Like the people on the borders. We're talking 33:20.
Right.
Like Gad, who dwells like a lion, tearing off arm and even head. Like he's on the border, and then Dan is also on the border. He's a lion cub leaping forth from Bashan, and then there was some very specific thing, 33:25, where it says, "May your borders be sealed like iron and copper." I mean, the Bible, the Torah here is very plainly for building a fence across the Rio Grande, and also against the Palestinians. Wouldn't you agree, Monica? May your borders be sealed like iron and copper. Like we're talking Minutemen.
Would you read your 25 to me? Would you read that?
Yeah, 25. May your borders be sealed like iron and copper.
Mine says, "May your door bolts be iron and copper."
Mine says, "Iron and bronze your bolts, and as your days your strength." That's completely different than what you're saying.
Iron and bronze.
I mean, iron and bronze
it
are
means
the verbs
making,
there. Right,
make
them sturdy.
Strong your bolts.
Well,
bolts.
But
borders. Bolts are different from borders.
Yeah, I mean, bolts hold things together. I mean, bolts ensure continuity on some level, metaphorically, maybe.
But does yours say borders?
Mine says, "May your door bolts be iron and copper." But first of all, I mean, look, I'm reading the JPS Tanakh, and so they have it.
They're probably like liberals who like want to. They fear the pro-fence sentiments of the Torah.
Right. Well, they do. Look, you have to take a look at it's the conservative movements thing. This is art scroll. It's orthodox, so there's an incentive to find a gentler interpretation for these guys. Right. But I will say, I mean, if other things we've read are true, it says that Dan and Gad are like lions, and they're very because they live at the borders. That people who are living next to the adjacent tribes should be wild and impetuous and violent defenders, and even kind of grabby, because he says also that Gad wanted, when they first took the promised land, Gad wanted it for the first lot. So they're grabby, and then but they're not actually the main warriors. Judah was the one. Judah's tribe was the one that was the bulk of the army. Mm-hmm. So there's a specific role for these guys, is that they're border guards, and they're overzealous.
And it says in the commentary, the Art Scroll commentary on verse 25, in blessing all of Israel, Moses assured them that the tribes living at the borders would be so steadfast and brave that the land would be as secure as if it were protected by locks and bars of iron and copper. Right. Alternatively, the verse refers to Asher, which was situated at the strategic and vulnerable northern border. That's against